Thanks for tuning in, guys. What I'm going to be talking about today is how you can make money flipping cars that you find on CraigsList. So stick around. Welcome back to all my subscribers, to all of you guys who are new to my channel. My name is Phil, aka the King of Thrift. I created this channel to help you guys get started on eBay to earn a good full-time living or part-time living. But today's video is going to be a little different. What we're going to be talking about today is how you guys can make money buying and selling cars, or flipping cars as it's known. This is a subject that I am well versed in. Coming up in this game, I did sell cars for about a year. And basically probably 90% of the cars that I bought and sold I actually found on CraigsList. And what I'm going to be doing today is just covering a quick rundown of how you can get started and make some good money by selling and flipping cars that you find on CraigsList for a good profit. So let's just get right into it, guys. Now, step one is going to be basically to find out what market you're going to get into. In other words, are you going to sell trucks? Are you going to sell cars? Are you going to sell luxury vehicles? I mean, as far as when I was selling, it was all of the above. It was basically whatever I could make money on, that's what I would sell. Now, I sort of narrowed into a particular, niche as far as which cars I was selling. And for me, what seemed to work the best was, smaller, not necessarily compact cars, but your mid-sized, smaller cars. Basically, your medium and your small cars, your mid-sized cars. I sold a lot of Hondas, Toyotas, definitely two of your best brands that you can sell. But don't be limited to those two particular types of cars. But you will need to know a thing or two about cars when you go into this business, because obviously you're going to be dealing with cars and used cars specifically, and not knowing anything about cars is definitely going to add to the degree of difficulty for you. Now, the best thing to do when starting out is to basically, get on CraigsList and see which cars are available for sale right now in your area. And what you want to do is basically just, start at the top at the most. What I would do is I would start at the most recently listed cars, and find out what they want for them. And if the car, you definitely want to make sure that the car is running. If it's not running, skip it, go to the next. Unless you have a really good connection with a mechanic, or unless you are a mechanic yourself. If the car's not running, skip it. You want to look for things like, runs good, cold AC, especially down here in Texas, that was a big thing. If the car didn't have AC, I probably wouldn't even look at it. But, and as you look at the cars, you want to, look them up. So if, for instance, go to the Kelley Blue Book website and, look at the Blue Book value of the car. Basically, that's what you're doing. As you find a car, let's say, for instance, you find a nice truck, say they want, $900 for it, and it runs good and this and that. So what you want to do is look at the year, look at the model, the brand, the make, of the car, and like I said, see what the Blue Book value is. Now, if the car is listed below Blue Book value, then it is a definite prospect. If it is listed above the Blue Book value, then you probably just want to skip it and go to the next one, because basically, you're able to weed out probably 95% of all the cars that you look at this way. In other words, 95% of the cars that are being listed on CraigsList are being listed at or above the Kelley Blue Book value. And if that's the case, then there's no room for you to make money there. So you want to make sure that it is below the Kelley Blue Book value, and by at least a few $100 to $500 to $1,000 below, because you want to be able to pick up at least $300 to $500 per car. On average, I was making $500 to $1,000 every car, and on some cars I even made more than that. So that's the first step. Now, once you've located a car that is listed, below its Blue Book value, then what you want to do is call, the seller of the car, or email them if you have to. It's better if you can call, because you need to be on the phone so you can talk to them. Because there's basically a few questions that you want to ask. Number one, you want to ask them, why are they selling the car? Because that's going to give you some insight into, it'll just give you more information on the car. I mean, they might say, well, I'm selling it because, I'm on my way to college and I don't need any more. I just got a new one. Or, they might say, well, it has this particular problem and I'm not sure how to fix it, and so that's why I'm selling it. So in other words, like I said, the first thing you want to ask them is why they're selling it. Next, and very important, you want to make sure that they have a clear title, because if not, then you're going to be going round and round with the courthouses and the DMV and all this and that, and it's really just not worth your time. It basically eats into your time, which, as we all know, time is money. So if they don't have a clear title, 9 times out of 10 you want to leave it, unless it's just a really, really good deal and they don't have a title. You can still make money on it. Next question, how many miles does it have on it? Now, probably 50% of the time, as far as I've seen, the mileage is listed, in the listing. But, about half the time they don't put the mileage, and it's very, very important because you can't even determine the Blue Book value without the actual mileage or somewhere thereabouts. So what's the actual mileage of the vehicle? All right, guys, and you also need to know what's wrong with the vehicle. 9 times out of 10, there are problems with the vehicle. Used vehicles have problems, period. So just ask them right up front, what's wrong with the vehicle? And that way you know what you're looking at, and probably half the time they're going to lie about it. The other half the time they'll tell you the truth. And that's why talking with someone is going to be, a very important factor in this determination process. And basically, because you can tell when you speak with someone by the tone of their voice, by the way that they speak back, by the way that they answer the questions. Many times whether they're lying or whether you're just getting a bad vibe from them. You can tell a lot. We all know, we're all humans here, and we can tell a lot when you talk to someone over the phone. So find out what's wrong with it, and we'll go from there. Now, another great question to ask is, where did they purchase the vehicle and how long have they had it? And this will just give you a little more of an idea as to sort of feeling them out, whether they're being truthful or not. And, probably half the time, like I said, they're going to be telling you the truth, so you're going to find out, how long they've had it, and maybe how well they took care of it. Maybe they're the first owner. Maybe they picked it up from a guy, and he had just did this or that to it. But like I said, it just sort of digging into the history of the vehicle. It's just going to give you more information to make a better informed decision. Now, another good thing to do is, once you have located a particular vehicle and it's passed basically all these tests so far, and you've gotten this far with it, and you're deciding whether or not or you're thinking that it looks like a good buy, the next thing that I would do is go into CraigsList and look. Or actually, you can go to the newspapers, you can go to CraigsList, you can go just to the internet, and basically what you want to do is search locally for that particular vehicle and see how they're selling and see how much they're selling for in your area, because that's very important. This is a local game, so the local marketplace is going to decide, the determining price of any given vehicle. Something I almost forgot to mention was pricing of the vehicles. Now, how much do you want to pay for any given vehicle? Now, it obviously, like I said, it depends on what the vehicle's worth, what the Blue Book value is, and what they're asking for it. But what I found in buying, and I bought quite a few cars. I bought and sold quite a few cars, and what I found was basically the sweet spot was between about $500 and $1,500, and that's how much you want to spend on a car. Because for me, that was just allowed me to make the most profit. I bought some cars for even around $3,500, $2,500. But what I found was the profits were almost the same as the cars and many times they were actually less than the cars that I was only paying $500 to maybe $1,500 for. So a good rule of thumb is to keep your price range in about $500 to $1,500. That is the sweet spot to cover your time and all your resources that you're going to need to sell any given vehicle. Okay, so you found a good vehicle and you've asked the questions, and it's basically passed all the tests thus far. Now all that's left to do is go and pick up the vehicle. Now when you get there, obviously you want to test drive it. You want to pop the hood, look around under the hood, and what you're looking for are wet spots. Basically, you want to look for any fluids that are leaking. You want to crank the vehicle up and look underneath it and look for anything dripping, any sort of puddles underneath it, and that's going to be an indicator that it has leaks. Of this or that or the other thing. And the same thing when you look under the hood. You want to check for loose belts. You want to check for rust in strange places. Like, you shouldn't have a lot of rust on your engine block. Maybe around your oil pump would indicate that your oil pump is leaking, which can be a pretty costly repair. Just those sort of things. You just want to look it over, look the inside and out, and that'll give you a good indicator as to how well it's taken care of and the overall condition of the vehicle. After you test drive it and you've decided that it seems to be like a go, it runs good. What you're looking for is you want to test everything. You want to take them, take it for a drive. 9 times out of 10 they're going to ride with you, and just test it out. Test all the blinkers, check the windshield wipers, play with all the buttons, make sure everything works. And for everything that doesn't work, the good thing is you can ask for a discount. So if the rear window isn't working right, you can ask for a discount. If one of the tires is going to need to be replaced, you can ask for a discount. If you're going to need new tires all around, you can ask for a discount. I mean, so on and so forth. So by basically going through it and sort of nitpicking each thing, you're able to get your price down. So that's a good thing about doing that, especially if you notice some substances are leaking. All right, so after test driving and passing all the tests thus far, you're ready to make your deal. Now the only thing left to do is pay for the car and get out of there. But on that note, never bring a big pocket full of cash to someone that you've never met before. Which brings me to my next point. Never meet someone at their own home. Unless it's a really nice neighborhood, and that's fine. But, hey, I've been in some shady neighborhoods, and, what I would do is, I would drive into these neighborhoods. When I started, I didn't really know what I was doing. So as I would drive into these neighborhoods, I would call these people and say, hey, why don't you meet me down here down the road? And we would actually meet at a public spot, at a grocery store or at a Starbucks or, something like that. So basically, you don't get jacked, for your money, because it's been known to happen, and, you don't want it to happen to you. So you want to meet in a nice public place, and don't bring the cash with you. Okay, so, basically, obviously, you're not bringing the cash, so you're just going to, head down to the bank and pull the cash out, right before you pay the guy. But you will need someone to carry you to pick up the vehicle, and someone, don't forget, someone's going to have to drive your vehicle back. So that is a drawback, and what I used to do a lot of times is I would offer my friend like 25 or 30 bucks to ride out with me and to drive my vehicle back. And, you'd be surprised. A lot of people, hey, that's good for a couple hours, a couple hours work, $25, $35, and especially if it's a good friend of yours, you can even get it less than that. Or you might end up having to pay more than that, but that is one of the prerequisites to this game. Once you've got the vehicle back home, the next thing that you need to do is crawl all over it and just clean it, get it as clean as you can. I would many times I would send them to the detailers, the detail centers around my neighborhoods, and have it completely detailed from top to bottom. It ended up being about 150 bucks a lot of times, but they would just clean it. They would do the carpet, to clean the seats. I mean, everything. It would be immaculate by the time they got done. And $150 to me was well spent. It did cut into my profit margin, and many times, especially in the beginning, I did it myself. But as I had more cars, I really just didn't have the time. Because you're looking at 2-3 hours for the work that these guys are doing. So don't be afraid to pay someone else to detail it for you. Pop the hood and really clean under there too. That's really important, because when you resell it, that's what they're looking at. And depending on how clean it is, you'd be surprised at how much more money you will get. Not to mention, you are increasing the value by cleaning it up. Many times, I'll put a fresh coat of wax on it, to bring the paint back to life. Buy touch-up paint, touch up scratches and marks and stuff like that. Polish the chrome up. A lot of times the rims have never been cleaned or polished. So, doing all these things adds to the value. Like I said, cleaning the stains off the seats. I mean, a lot of people just don't even realize that you can, clean your seats, just like carpet. And their seats get stained and dirty and dingy, and they don't realize that all you need is, a good someone who knows what they're doing to go in there and clean it up, and it'll look brand new again. So once you get it nice and clean, the next thing that you'll want to do is, if it needs any repairs, many times what I would end up doing is, because most of the time, just because it just didn't run right, I had a personal mechanic. And this is another thing, you can get in good with a mechanic and let them know what you're doing, let them know you're going into this business, and that you'll be bringing them cars on a regular basis. Many times they'll give you a nice discount. So that's what I did, and actually was a good friend of mine. But we didn't start out as friends, but we became friends because I brought him so many vehicles. But I would bring him my vehicles, he would look them over, I would say, he'd tell me what's wrong with it, and I would decide what I wanted to repair and what I didn't. And another good thing about that was, because I would have written a written receipt from an actual mechanic. So whenever I sold the vehicle, I could say, hey, look, I had it checked out from top to bottom, and here's what's wrong with it. So, hey, people really appreciate that, because 9 times out of 10, you buy a car, unless you really know, or your mechanic, it's like a shot in the dark. You don't know what you're getting. You're just getting someone else's headache. And until you get it to a mechanic to have them look it over, you really don't know what's wrong with it. So that is a definite plus to doing that. And like I said, I would have the small repairs that were necessary to get the car sold. I would do those, have those done. Like I said, just make it run better, give it a good once over, clean it up real well, and it's ready to make some profit at that point.